My name's John Lana, and I'm one of the new assistant head teachers at Kyneton School. My remit will be the curriculum intent and the quality of teaching and learning. Very, very important year in Year 10, and parents often want to know how can they support their child with learning in Year 10. What do we send our children to look at? How can we help them? I think the most important thing to think about in Year 10 is students will struggle with memory retention as they get more and more layers of the GCSE overloaded to them, and they'll struggle with the number of complex terminology that's part of every single syllabus in all of the different subjects. So other than planning, I think the two issues that students struggle with the most across all of the subjects, including core and the additional subjects, is memory retention and terminology. Of all the things I've seen to help them, one of the things that seems to work and seems to click with all different types of students is this software program here. It's called Quizlet. Quizlet is a free program. There is a pro version of it, but the bare basics of it with adverts is free and it works perfectly fine. Students will need to sign up to it basically sign up and use an email address as part of it. It takes 30 seconds and then they'll get a screen that looks something like this. This is a student account. It allows them to create digital flashcards that they can use on their tablets, their phones, their laptops. They can use on the go, or they can use whilst they're sat at home. And it's got some clever little tricks to it as well. So one of the easiest ways to use the tool is to cheat and to use the study cards that another student or a teacher has created for them. So if we go into the search bar just here, if we typed in, for example, maths, and we typed in algebra, then if we press enter, that will ping a load of study sets that are based around maths and algebra. And you can normally see a preview of what the study set's going to look like just here. What you put into the search bar isn't massively important. We could put the exam board if we wanted, but generally the subject and then what we're actually specifically trying to look at will be enough. So for example, if we type in geography, which is my own subject, and if we type in coasts, which is an area that students struggle with because it is bogged down with many complex key terms. So if we open this up, this will give us on the left lots of different study sets that other people have created. 118 terms in this one, 62 in this one, 62 in this one. I have had a look at this one previously. I saw it had a good rating, so I'm going to use this one. If we click on this, it's going to bring up the set of flashcards just here. So they are digital flashcards, and there it is. What you will see is the key term on the front, so deposition, and then if we click that, on the other side is exactly what deposition is. So if we were to move on one, transportation. So transportation is the movement of sediment. So let's say that the parent is helping the child to learn. You click on this, it says the movement of material around coastlines by the action of the sea. Read this out, and then hopefully the child will link that to the concept or the key term of transportation. This one just here. You'll see we've got so many. All of these different complex terms allow students to assess and make judgments about the physical and human issues surrounding the coastline. What students can also do is they don't just have to use the flashcards. There's a program called Learn, Write, Spell. There's some play ones where they can go against their friends if they join the same group. But something I quite like is Test just here. So if we click this button, Test, it takes a second to generate it. And what it's going to do is it's going to give students some questions to answer just here. Now, the last setting I set was true or false. And so it's going to ask me some basic questions, and then I've got to work out, I've got to look at the definition just here and work out if that is associated with this particular concept or key term. You can make it harder or easier. If you click on more options, just there, that allows us then to decide how many questions we want. I've kept this at a sort of tidy 10. We can decide if we want true or false, which is obviously quite easy. We can have multiple choice where it's getting more difficult, or we can have written. So I'll leave it with multiple choice. We'll leave it as the term, and then we'll just click generate new test. And then just here, it's giving us this. I've got a pretty good feeling that the answer to that, just looking at that, is wrap. So you can see that some people have already associated images with the key terms that also helps the students. Now, the clever bit about this is the program has an algorithm, and it will learn what the child understands and is able to retain, and which terms or concepts the child is struggling with. The ones that are easy, like this one on RipRap, will then, because the child continues to get it right, it won't be used in the test anywhere near as often. For the ones that the students get wrong, so let's say that the student is struggling with the accumulation of coastal sediments, if they continue to get this one wrong, then it will keep testing on this and then giving them the correct answers if they get it wrong again. So I like the idea that it's got an algorithm to help them with their memory and to see what they can actually remember, understand, and then use in the exam later on. This is one way it works. The other way, and like I said, it's for all subjects, essentially. The other way is students can create their own cards, which is probably the better way, as it's in their own work. So if they create their own study set, just here, that is going to allow them to create the things that we've just seen. So, for example, let's imagine that they're looking at not a biology chapter, but let's imagine that they're working on a history unit. So we'll call this one history. We'll call it World War II. And let's say that one of the terms that we're struggling with a little bit, or something that our teacher has introduced to us, is genocide. So if you type in what you think is the beginning of the word, it's going to come up with some ideas that it thinks you might be going down. So for example, genocide, some students may struggle to spell it. They'll be able to see the correct spelling here. So if we click on genocide, then in the definition just here, it will then give students an idea of what that might be. They can write their own one in, or they can write something in, or they can just click one that's given. So a systematic killing of a racial or cultural group is a short, sharp definition. So we'll click that one, and that one goes in there. Let's say another concept that they were trying to understand is perhaps, let's say that we're looking at shrapnel. Type in shrapnel, and it's just there. And then again, it will come up with potential definitions that the students can use on this side. Now, the students can write their own stuff in if they want. So they could say, in World War II, lots of pieces of metal, injured many soldiers. And there you go. Okay, and they can add images in if they want. Now, this one takes more time, but it is then specific to their syllabus, and it's kind of, they can write the key terms in a way that they will remember them, or the concepts. And again, once they've made this, they can then play it in exactly the same way that I've spoken about before. They can add as many cards as they want, and it will go into a study set in their library just here. There's the geography coasts one that I was using a second ago that they can keep coming back to. The reason why I like this is that revision works very well on short, snappy sessions, trying to empower our brain to remember things. So if students are on the bus and they've got a spare 10 minutes before school, they can load this up on their phone and they can start testing themselves. So to repeat, the main thing I want kind of students to think about, and for parents to support students with this year in Year 10, is the theme of memory retention and the complex key terminology that is associated with all of the different courses.